How's it going, guys? I hope you guys had a great week. So I'm back today with another video. Obviously, as you guys know, at the end of the year, I always do a top 10 list. So this year is no different. In today's video, we're actually going to talk about the top 10 games that I played in 2021. Now, 2021 was a bit of a mixed bag for me. There were some really good games that came out last year. A lot of games I really enjoyed, but it wasn't like in previous years where we've had, you know, huge standout titles that just blew me away, like for example Horizon Zero Dawn or God of War or Ghost of Tsushima. The 2021 wasn't that, but there were still some great games and I want to talk about them in today's video. Without further ado, here are the top 10 games that I played in 2021. Now, of course, I do want to start off with a little bit of an honorable mention, and of course, I have to talk about the Mass Effect Legendary Edition, which came out in 2021. Now, obviously, this is not on my top 10 list. The reason for that is the game was not originally released in 2021, so that's why I don't count it. In order to qualify for my top 10 list every year, that game has to have been released in that year. So it has to be a brand new title or a new IP or a sequel, whatever it may well be, but it has to have been originally released in that year. And obviously the Mass Effect trilogy wasn't, but I have to mention it because obviously I spent a large part of 2021 preparing for the Mass Effect Legendary Edition with lore videos, and then obviously doing my Let's Play and my live streams playing through the game. I loved every moment of playing Mass Effect 1, 2 and 3 this year. Some of my best memories from 2021 was without a doubt hanging with the community and getting to live stream the trilogy with you guys. I've never actually done a full Let's Play or live stream of the trilogy, so it was great to experience that together with you guys, and I'm still playing it in Mass Effect 3. So yeah, this was definitely one of my highlights this year, and that's why it has to be an honorable mention without a doubt. It's fantastic. If you've never played it, please pick it up, check it out. It's well worth it.
No matter how hard we fight, we can never stop it.
Returnal. So Returnal is a bullet hell 3D action shooter. For those who don't know, it's by developer Housemarque, and it came out sort of beginning end of last year. For me personally, I felt that Returnal didn't get enough love this year at the Game Awards. It didn't get the credit that it deserved. This kind of game, I think for a lot of people, is very much going to be a love-hate type scenario. You know, it's a bit like Marmite. You either love it or you hate it. It's a very hard, very challenging game. You play as Celine, and that's an astronaut that becomes stranded on a mysterious alien planet, and after you die for the first time, you get reanimated and you start the cycle again. So every time you die, you lose your powers, you lose your abilities, your weapons, all your progression. And it's that part that really people either love or hate. People love the challenge or they hate it. For me personally, I leant more towards the love side of things. This game makes great use of the power of the PlayStation 5, especially the 3D audio headset and also the haptic and adaptive triggers on the PlayStation 5. It's really good. I really didn't think that 3D bullet hell was gonna work on this game. I'm used to more 2D bullet hell style games like Resogun, for example, which was Housemarque's previous title, but somehow, you know, they've made it work. And yeah, the combat is fast-paced, frenetic, and everything is out to kill you, as you can see from the gameplay behind me. But it is a really fun game, and if you like challenging games, then you know this may well be up your street. If you've just purchased a PlayStation 5 or you own a PlayStation 5 and you're on the fence, definitely pick it up, check it out. It really is a great game, and that is why it is number 10 on my list. Scarlet Nexus. So this game came out in June. It's developed by Bandai Namco. It is an action JRPG basically, and I absolutely loved it. It's set in kind of the near future, and you can actually choose to play as one of two characters, either Kasane, the female character who I chose, or Yuito. Depending on who you choose, the events of the story unfold a little bit differently, which is awesome because that really does offer a lot of replay values. Humanity have gained and developed in technology to actually be able to access certain abilities. Now, Yuito and Kasane have psychokinetic abilities where you're able to actually throw things at enemies. In this world, there are something called the Others. These creatures attack towns, and you're part of a special force to defend humanity and stop this incursion of the Others. The story, to be fair, is a little bit, it's a bit out there, let's just say that. It starts off really, you know, quite straightforward and simple. Then time travel gets involved, conspiracies start happening, and the story just goes in a direction that you're not expecting. It makes it really interesting, and you're kind of scratching your head trying to work it all out. The characters are absolutely fantastic. The voice acting is really good quality. It definitely has RPG elements to it. You do have squad mates that you get to know and build up and level up your bond with. And yeah, it has a really well written cast of characters that are very well fleshed out, just really, you know, likable, and it's great. But what I loved most in this game was the combat, which you can see in the background here. Is just a lot of fun between sort of using your own attacks and your own abilities and your psychokinetic powers to throw things at enemies. You also have squad mates, and you can actually select and use their abilities as well and synchronize your attacks. And you know, enemies have particular weaknesses that you have to kind of use against. It's really fun. It's really stylish. I love the art style. The music's gorgeous too. And yeah, if you like your Japanese, if you like anime, or if you like your JRPGs or your Japanese action style games, like Platinum, for example, I think Scarlet Nexus is going to be a game that you're going to really enjoy. For me, it didn't get enough love last year. I think it was one of the most overlooked games of the year, and I really enjoyed it. Plus, Scarlet Nexus is on the Xbox Game Pass on PC, so if you have that, totally pick it up and check it out. It is worth playing, and I'm sure you will enjoy it. And that's why it's number 9 on my list.
Danon Liberation and the Renaissance. Looks like we've got our work cut out for us.
Tales of Arise. So this is my very first experience with a Tales game. As you guys all know, I'm a massive RPG nut, huge RPG fan. This was my first experience of a Tales JRPG, and I just loved it. I absolutely loved every moment of it. From the incredible story, it's got an amazing story, an amazing cast of characters. The story really does pull at your heartstrings as you're playing through it. The world is super interesting. The cast is really great, and the game does a very good job of fleshing the cast out. And in between the story events, you actually get to interact with each of the characters and really hear all of their background and story and motivations. So the characters are written perfectly, voice acted to an incredibly high level, and the music is gorgeous too. But the game also looks absolutely gorgeous. It's a beautiful looking game, and on top of that, it has a really fun combat system. I wasn't expecting to enjoy the combat as much as I did, but between all the really cool, like flashy sort of support moves that you can pull off with companions coming in with a finishing move and a finishing attack, and all the combos that you can do as the main character, you can also switch between each of the characters in combat too. But the gameplay, the combat is really satisfying. I wasn't expecting it to be as satisfying as it was. So coupled with really satisfying combat and gameplay, as well as just a really engaging storyline. Yeah, I was blown away. Really enjoyed Tales of Arise, and it's definitely one of the best RPGs I've played in recent years. So Tales of Arise is number 8 on my list, and you should definitely check it out.
It wouldn't be the first time the Psychonauts underestimated Maligula's power.
Psychonauts 2. I really enjoyed this game this year. There were some great platformers that came out in 2021, and Psychonauts 2 was right up there. I actually didn't get to play the original Psychonauts when it came out. I know it's a massive sort of cult fan favorite, and it really has a very dedicated cult following, and it's great that we got a sequel this year, and it was well worth the wait. Raz obviously returns along with the Psychonauts. In this game, obviously he's an intern and investigating you know, kind of a little bit of the origins of the Psychonauts, as well as the menace of Caligula. The story is really good. It's really well written. The cast of characters, the humor is so well written in the game too. But what I really enjoyed was just the sheer imagination in this game. Each of the different levels that you play have purpose. They're all connected to, you know, each of the main sort of characters that you come across, and they give an insight into their psyche and their insecurities and their own sort of mental health issues and things like that. The game is so cleverly written, and the levels are so smartly designed that as you're playing through them, the game just seems to, you know, one up itself every time as you progress through the game. You're like, it can't get any wackier, it can't get any crazier, and then the game just throws something completely different at you. It has some brilliant moments in it, great soundtrack as well, absolutely brilliant soundtrack, really memorable, heartwarming moments. And then, you know, the gameplay, it's not the best gameplay out there, believe me, there are better games, and sometimes the camera can be a little bit unforgiving and the combat can feel a little clunky. But it's still good. You know, it's very similar to what we had in the original Psychonauts, and Raz obviously has different psychic abilities at his disposal, and you have to switch between these depending on, you know, which enemies you're going against. But it's a really great game. I think it's one of Dante's favorite games that he played last year, and I absolutely loved every moment with it. It's certainly one of the best platformers that I played in 2021, and yeah, without a doubt, you should check it out. You will not be disappointed. Also, Psychonauts 2 is on the Xbox Game Pass on PC, so you can pick it up and check it out and see what you think. I think the original Psychonauts is on Game Pass as well. So really, there's nothing to lose by picking this game up, playing it, checking it out. You're going to really enjoy it without a doubt. And that's why it's number 7 on my list.
You have one bullet against an entire army.
It's enough.
Halo Infinite. This was such a good game. Like, this is one of the best first-person shooters that came out in 2021. I am a big fan of the Halo series. I did play Halo 5 Guardians. The story wasn't great in Halo 5 Guardians, and I was interested in sort of seeing where they were going to take it in Halo Infinite, especially after the disappointment for fans, and also the controversy surrounding Halo Infinite with the initial reveal of it, and you know, the fan backlash against that, and Microsoft deciding to delay the game by a year to make sure that, you know, the finished product in the campaign was a really good one, and then offering the multiplayer as a free-to-play addition to the game. Of course, there have been some things that, you know, a lot of people are disappointed with. For example, you know, cooperative campaign not being available from start, Forge not being available from start. But I did play the main campaign, I beat it and completed it, and I've got to say, I really enjoyed my time with Halo Infinite. It has some of the slickest gunplay and combat of any game that came out last year. I mean, this for me, it's just the pinnacle of what Halo can be. The new grapple catapult ability is just a game changer for me. It really does add a whole sense of verticality to the levels. It really is used smartly in terms of traversal, but then even in combat it's used brilliantly to, you know, stun enemies with shields so you can you know, drag yourself towards them, melee and kill them. It can be used, it's so fluid and smooth is the combat. It feels incredible to play. That's the key thing with Halo Infinite, is the minute-to-minute gunplay, the minute-to-minute gameplay is so satisfying and so incredible. You just really enjoy it. The story is meh. It's not as terrible, it's not awful, you know, it's not as bad as, say, Halo 5 Guardians, but it lacks the same kind of spark as the original trilogy has, from what I hear, and it feels a little bit like 343 Industries don't really know where to take the series, and the game kind of ends on a little bit of a cliffhanger with, you know, a few things unresolved. But that's not what made this game hit my top 10 list yet. It wasn't the story, it was the gameplay. They tried to take Halo in a new open world direction, and parts of that were really good. You know, the map itself, like, it isn't massively varied in terms of environments and things like that. You know, as you're exploring, everything is very similar in terms of look and feel, but the sandbox nature of the gameplay and how you can approach each area in different ways and try something new and try something different, and the freedom that the game gives you to play with is really what makes the game a lot of fun. And then the weapons are just super satisfying to use and varied and different, and that's why it is on my list this year. I loved every moment of it. So yeah, if you're a Halo fan, you should definitely pick up and play Halo Infinite. If you're just looking for some good solid gunplay, good fun enjoyable gameplay, then Halo Infinite is where it's at, and that's why it's number 6 on my list. Kina Bridge of Spirits. So 2021 was an incredible year for indie developers. There were so many good indie titles that came out last year, and one of the best indie titles came from Ember Labs with Kina Bridge of Spirits, which was their very first game, which for a debut title is incredible. Kina Bridge of Spirits just absolutely blew me away. I mean, I knew from the trailers that it looked gorgeous, it looked amazing, but I was not expecting the quality of game that we actually got. The animation quality is on par with any amazing Pixar movie. It looks gorgeous, the world is super interesting. The Rots, though is a terrible name for them, are absolutely adorable. They're super cute. Even like discovering and finding them, and they're just great. You can collect little hats for them. They're so cute. On top of that, the game had a really robust kind of platform system, a lot of puzzle solving as part of it too, to actually progress through the game. So yeah, the scenery is gorgeous, looks absolutely beautiful. And then on top of that, the game had, you know, really challenging combat segments. I really was not expecting that the level of polish that this game actually ended up having. Just beautiful, absolutely gorgeous. I want an animated TV series. I want something on Netflix, like an animated show for this game, because it's gorgeous. Kena herself is very sweet, or Kina, and yeah, even some of the characters that you get to meet, some of the backstories and things like that, they do have a lot of heart to them. But the combat, man, like the combat was really challenging, especially some of the boss fights. Some of the boss fights like had elements of Dark Souls level challenge, you know, having to kind of dodge and block and parry at just the right moment. The game is punishing. It can be punishing. Don't be surprised if you do die quite a few times until you get the rhythm of the combat and you learn to read the boss's moves. And yeah, man, I was not expecting Kina Bridge of Spirits to be as amazing as it was. But if you're looking for a really good indie title, just a good relatively short game. I say you can beat it in about 12 hours. So if you're looking for something really cute, great platforming, beautiful world, and, you know, fun, challenging combat, then Kina Bridge of Spirits is, yeah, is a great game to play. And I highly, highly recommend it. One of the best games that came out in 2021, without a doubt. Metroid Dread. Oh my god, this game was so good. Do you know, this was actually the very first Metroid game that I've ever played and beaten. I 100%ed this game, and that is hard to do because Metroid is a challenging game. It has some challenging puzzles and things like that to find power-ups, but yeah, this was such a good game. Obviously, this is the first brand new game in the mainline series. It's a follow-on from Metroid Fusion, so I know for a lot of huge Metroid fans, it's probably one of the most anticipated games that came out this year, and it did not disappoint. Like the quality of this game, from the minute to minute sort of gameplay and traversal, was just so amazing. This is the original Metroidvania, right? So once you are playing through the game and unlocking obviously new abilities and new powers, you're going back into other areas and then obviously finding new pathways and unlocking new abilities, coupled with the amazing platforming and really intuitive gameplay controls. Then it has some of the most challenging bosses in any 2D platformer that I've seen. Seriously challenging bosses that are hard and you will die a lot, but once you beat them, the level of satisfaction from beating them. Then of course, obviously, Metroid Dread introduced the new mechanic of Emmys, which are these robots that hunt you down in the world, and the fear that instills into you as you're playing through each of the areas is just, yeah, it's crazy. I mean, seriously, kind of like heart-pounding, sweat, you know, dripping kind of moments. And the music, the musical cues and the soundtrack's great, but the music for the Emmys, it's that psychological effect that it has on you and that dread that it obviously causes. So yeah, Metroid Dread is one of the best action games that came out last year. I loved it, absolutely loved it. I loved it that much that I 100%ed the game and just had to beat it. I had to beat the game and 100% it. I think I did it in about 9 hours or 8.5 hours, so it wasn't a bad run for 100%ing it, and I really enjoyed it. It was great. If you've never played a Metroid game, this is probably one of the best ones to jump in on, and yeah, even for seasoned fans of it, they really enjoyed it. And I know that Fish and Dante are huge Metroid fans, Fish especially, and yeah, I think he's beaten it twice. I think he beat it on normal mode and then he played it through on the hardest difficulty and beat it again. Yeah, it's a great game. Really enjoyed it, and it certainly deserved to be nominated for Game of the Year this year. And yeah, for sure, one of the best games I played in 2021, without a doubt. Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy. You know, I was not intending to play this game in 2021. I was very much on the fence on it. Obviously, this is by Square Enix, and after the disaster that was Marvel's Avengers, I really was not wanting to jump into another Marvel game. I was worried that it was going to become another cash grab and games as a service. But then Square Enix generously offered me a review copy of the game. I jumped in and played it, and oh my god, I did not regret that decision. Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy for me was one of the biggest surprises that came out of 2021. Certainly the story was fantastic. This was very clearly made by a team that were passionate about the project. Obviously, this is from Eidos Montreal. That's the team that brought us the Deus Ex series, and that passion shines in everything. They do such an incredible incredible job of fleshing out the world, the lore. Each of the Guardians are given their chance to shine, and they are so well realized and voice acted, and they really are loyal to the comics, which is obviously what the game is based on. The story is great, the writing is absolutely brilliant, the banter and chemistry between the team and the humour is so brilliantly written. I absolutely laughed out loud and enjoyed every moment. In terms of the combat and the gameplay, it's good, you know, it's decent. I wouldn't say it's the best gameplay out there, certainly. You get to play, of course, as Star-Lord, and then you can control your companions, very similar to, say, the Mass Effect series, where you can bring up a power wheel and, you know, give instructions to your companions to do certain moves. There is, of course, dialogue as well, and dialogue choices, and you can make certain key decisions in the story, which kind of add flavor to the Guardians and how they're viewed, and obviously how the story progresses. I'm definitely interested to jump in, play it again, and just make different choices. But yeah, Guardians of the Galaxy was one of the best games. It actually offered one of the best stories for me in 2021. In fact, I think it had probably the best story I played. I really enjoyed it. Yeah, just a great time. A fun moment from start to finish. It's got great pacing. It never really slows down. It's constantly going, and it surprises you in so many different ways, which a Guardians of the Galaxy game should surprise you, you know, with the writing and the set pieces and the moments. So yeah, Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy, fabulous game in 2021. Hugely recommend it to anybody who loves their Marvel games, and just anybody looking for a good time. I highly recommend it. You will not be disappointed. It's full of character, and Rocket is still my favorite Guardian. I love him. Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. This was one of my favorite games that came out in 2021. Of course, it's by Insomniac Games, and in this game they just showed how incredible a developer they are. Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart was a masterpiece of game development. It has some of the best platforming of any game that came out last year, but it also showcases the power of the PlayStation 5 and the power of that solid state drive. I was in awe as I watched how quickly levels loaded in and out. The new ability of using rifts to drag yourself across platforms, or even in the middle of combat to gain an advantage over your enemies, was just incredible. The use of the PlayStation 5 controller and the haptic feedback and the adaptive triggers when using, you know, guns and weapons and using them for alt fire. The gameplay was so smooth. The different weapons were just really fun to use, incredibly creative and immersive and amazing. On top of that, it has some incredible writing. The story is actually really good. It's really heartwarming. Then we get, of course, Ratchet and Clank, but we also get some new characters as well. We get a new Lombax by the name of Rivet, and a new robot companion by the name of Kit. Rivet, of course, is voice acted by Jennifer Hale, one of my favorite voice actresses, of course, for playing the amazing Commander Shepard in Mass Effect. But she does an incredible job in Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. And yeah, just every character that we meet, they're just well fleshed out, really likable, really enjoyable. And we get to go to like an alternative reality through one of the rifts. And so it's just really cool to see like different versions of Dr. Nefarious and different versions of characters that we have in Ratchet's world. And yeah, it's just really interesting world. And the gameplay, the level designs, the gunplay, the platforming, just really fun. Incredible game. If you are a big fan of the original Ratchet and Clank series, you certainly owe it to yourself to play it. If you own a PlayStation 5, for me this is a must-play title on the console. You will not regret it. I loved every moment of playing this game from start to finish, and that's why it is number 2 on my list. It's amazing.
Keep on going! We got a relationship to fix! But what if we freeze to death first? Use your magnet powers and the attraction will warm you up.
It Takes Two. So without a doubt, this had to be my game of the year this year. It Takes Two, of course, is by Hazel Light Studio. That's the small team that also brought us A Way Out. It is a 2-player split screen cooperative experience. It tells the story of Cody and May. That's a couple that are basically getting divorced. They're stopped communicating. They're splitting up, and their daughter is caught in the crossfire, and she makes a wish, cries on 2 of her dolls that actually come to life, and the spirit of May and Cody basically animate these dolls, and they're trying to have to work together to try and get back to their daughter and back to their bodies. This game, it doesn't have the most amazing story, don't get me wrong, like it's a very simple premise, but what is incredible about this title is the ingenuity, the creativity behind it. With every level that you play, you get to explore obviously different parts of the house and different worlds. The writings, there are some parts of it that are really funny. There are a lot of parodies and a lot of sort of poking fun at certain genres and even video game genres in the game. That's a lot of fun. But as you progress through every level, Cody and May gain access to different abilities, and you have to work together and coordinate together, and it's so smartly done. But the game, you know, there are no limitations in terms of creativity, and what I love is the game breaks the mold in so many different ways. There are so many different genres that are represented here, from third-person action shooters to top-down, you know, dungeon crawlers like Diablo, for example. There's just so many little head nods to gamers. It's just a joy to play. It's really fun, really creative, and you're constantly surprised as you're playing through. The game never overstays its welcome. Each map, each area never overstays its welcome. You know, just as you're getting used to mechanics and used to the new game mode, the game will pull that rug out from under you, and you'll continue on through the next part of the story, and you'll be given something completely new to work out and to master. And it is just the epitome of cooperative play at its finest. If you are looking for a really great game to play with family, friends, a loved one, I can't think of a better game to play. And what's even more awesome is if one of you owns the game, they can actually gift it to their friend with the friend pass. So you don't actually need to own 2 copies of the game to be able to play it, which is incredibly generous. Then add on to the fact that it's actually on the Xbox Game Pass, and yeah, I mean, why wouldn't you pick it up and check it out? It is one of the best games that I played last year. Dante and I had an absolute blast playing it, and I really cannot recommend it enough. So my game of the year for 2021 is It Takes Two. So there you have it, guys. There is my top 10 games of 2021. Hope you guys enjoyed this video and enjoyed listening to my thoughts on just some of the games I played last year that I really enjoyed. I do enjoy doing these top 10 videos, and I hope you guys enjoyed watching it too. Of course, let me know in the comment section below which games would be in your top 10 list of the year. Let me know which were the best games you played. If there's any you feel I've missed on this list, please let me know in the comment section below. Thank you to everyone, of course, who watched the video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I will be back again with my next video in a couple of days, which is going to be looking at the top 10 indie games that I played in 2021. So please look forward to that. Hope you guys have a great week. Of course, take care, and as always, happy gaming. Bye, guys.